She stood just 4'11¾", but the moment the music started, Paula MaryAnn Kopicko filled the room with unstoppable force. Born in South Philadelphia in 1947, she was the middle child of Henry Kopicko's 3 daughters, and from the start, she carried an energy that far exceeded her small frame. On American Bandstand, Dick Clark quickly gave her a nickname that stuck: Mighty Mouse. It was the perfect description of a teenager whose presence seemed to burst out of the television screen. Her breakthrough came in 1962 when she and her partner, Richie Cartledge, captured national attention by winning the mashed potato contest, dancing to Dee Dee Sharp's hit. The prize was a motorboat, but the true reward was instant recognition among millions of viewers. Paula's smile, her quick steps, and her fearless rhythm made her unforgettable. She wasn't just a dancer, she was proof that heart could outshine height. Paula MaryAnn Kopicko entered the world on September 27, 1947, in South Philadelphia, the daughter of Henry Kopicko and the middle sister between Sonny and Pat. The neighborhood she grew up in was a place where tradition met change. Corner bakeries and family-owned shops stood side by side with jukeboxes that blasted the new sounds of rock and roll. In that lively atmosphere, Paula's spirit flourished. Though small in stature, she was known even as a child for her quick laugh, lively energy, and a determination that seemed to push beyond her size. Her home life was full of ordinary joys. Records spun on the family player while Paula memorized every lyric from her favorite singers, Bobby Rydell and Connie Francis. She admired movie stars like Clark Gable and Susan Hayward, imagined glamorous evenings on the silver screen, and adored the television series Dr. Kildare. Her taste in food was simple and joyful. Fried chicken was always a favorite. On weekends, she found exhilaration in ice skating, her petite frame gliding as quickly as her feet would later move on the dance floor. Paula's dreams were as vivid as her personality. She once confided that she wanted to become a hairdresser, crafting styles with the same creativity she showed in dance. She also imagined herself behind the wheel of a white Lincoln Continental, a luxury car that symbolized how big her hopes could be. These were not the dreams of a starlet, but of a teenager with ambition and imagination. Her years at St. Maria Goretti High School, where she graduated in 1965, gave her both structure and stage. Friends recalled how she turned hallways into practice floors, slipping into new dance steps between classes, and how her boundless enthusiasm was impossible to contain. Family supported her passions, and her sisters cheered her on as she transformed everyday life into a rehearsal for something greater. Soon, the rhythms she practiced in her South Philadelphia living room would carry her onto a stage that reached every corner of America. For Paula Kopicko, the dream of American Bandstand began the way it did for many Philadelphia teens, by watching from home. After school, she sat in front of the family television, captivated by the black and white images of teenagers just like her, moving to the latest hits. It wasn't a distant fantasy. Studio B was only a short journey away, and Paula began to imagine herself on that very dance floor. With her energy and charisma, the show seemed less like an unreachable world and more like the natural stage she was meant to find. Encouraged by friends, Paula finally made her way to the studio. Outside, the line of teenagers wrapped around the block, each one buzzing with anticipation. From inside came the muffled thump of music, the sound of laughter, and the hum of cameras being prepared. Standing among the crowd, Paula's small frame might have been easy to overlook, but her determination was impossible to miss. She was ready to step into the unknown. The moment she entered Studio B, she was overwhelmed. The dazzling lights, the constant motion of television cameras, and the commanding voice of Dick Clark filled the space with electricity. For many first-timers, it was intimidating, but for Paula, it was exhilarating. As the music began, nerves gave way to instinct. Her feet moved with a confidence honed in countless hours of practice at home, and soon she was no longer a face in the crowd. She was a dancer the cameras found. That first broadcast changed everything. Across the country, families noticed the petite girl with the bright smile and unstoppable rhythm. She wasn't a celebrity yet, but she had made her mark. American Bandstand had a new regular, and the nickname Mighty Mouse was about to take hold. What started as a teenager's dream was turning into the role of a lifetime, one that would soon make Paula unforgettable. Once Paula Kopicko appeared regularly on American Bandstand, her presence was impossible to ignore. Petite and barely 5 feet tall, she moved with a force that seemed to defy her size. Dick Clark's nickname, Mighty Mouse, wasn't just clever. It perfectly captured the paradox of a girl so small, yet so commanding that she could light up every broadcast. Viewers wrote in to describe how her smile brightened their afternoons, and her quick-spirited footwork made her a favorite on the floor. The high point came in 1962 when Paula and her partner Richie Cartledge, dubbed Mr. Handsome by fellow regulars, entered the mashed potato contest. To the infectious beat of Dee Dee Sharp's Mashed Potatoes, the pair brought a mix of precision and playful charm that won over both the judges and the audience. Their victory, rewarded with motorboats, was more than a prize. It was a national moment that sealed Paula's place in bandstand history. Her popularity grew beyond the dance floor. Paula's image appeared in teen magazines and the 1963 Secret Bandstand album, ensuring she would be remembered alongside the era's most beloved regulars. Fan clubs formed, and girls across America copied her moves in living rooms and school gyms, inspired by her fearless rhythm. What made her special wasn't just technical skill, but the joy she conveyed with every step, a contagious energy that made her feel larger than life. For a few shining years, Paula was one of the dancers viewers looked for as soon as the program began. She embodied what American Bandstand promised, that ordinary teenagers could become extraordinary simply by sharing their love of music and dance. Paula wasn't just on television, she became part of a collective memory, a symbol of the carefree, exhilarating spirit of the early 1960s. And soon, her partnership with Richie would make her even more unforgettable. Among the many dancers who graced American Bandstand, few partnerships stood out as brightly as Paula Kopicko and Richie Cartledge. She was Mighty Mouse, small but fierce, while he was tall, confident, and affectionately nicknamed Mr. Handsome. Together, they made a striking pair, their chemistry evident in every step. Fans didn't just admire their dancing, they celebrated it. Scrapbooks filled with clippings, Polaroids, and autographs testify to how beloved they became as a duo. Their 1962 triumph in the mashed potato contest was the pinnacle of their time together. Audiences across America watched in delight as the unlikely pair blended flawless timing with playful energy, securing first place and a motorboat prize. The contest win wasn't just a highlight, it was the moment that cemented Paula and Richie as part of bandstand legend. To this day, longtime fans recall it as one of the defining memories of the era. Beyond the cameras, Paula and Richie shared the easy camaraderie of two teenagers caught up in something larger than themselves. They laughed between takes, practiced new dances backstage, and endured the strict rules of the show together, keeping their movements clean, their image wholesome, and their focus always on the music. Even with those constraints, Paula's exuberance shone through. She never seemed weighed down by the pressure, she thrived in it. The duo's popularity also came with competition. Other dancers sought the same camera time, and the race to be noticed was constant. Yet Paula and Richie had a magic that couldn't be replicated, and their names became inseparable in the memories of Bandstand's golden years. Photographs with fellow regulars like Michelle Leibowitz and fan collector David Fries only add to the nostalgia, proof of the friendships and youthful joy that surrounded them. For viewers, Paula and Richie embodied the thrill of being young, in love with music, and unafraid to shine. But even the brightest lights on the dance floor eventually fade, and life would soon carry Paula toward choices beyond the world of television. For Paula Kopicko, the joy of dancing on American Bandstand was always balanced by the reality that life outside the studio continued to move forward. By the mid-1960s, the weight of schoolwork, family responsibilities, and the ordinary challenges of growing up began to press against her time in the spotlight. Like many regulars, she faced the question, could a teenager truly live in two worlds, one of national fame and another of everyday life? Gradually, Paula's appearances on television became less frequent. Viewers noticed, and some wondered what had happened to the lively Mighty Mouse who once seemed to leap through the screen. There was no scandal or controversy, only the natural pull of adulthood. Paula chose to step away from the cameras, to trade rehearsals and contests for classrooms, work, and the beginnings of a new path. Her decision carried both a sense of loss and a sense of relief. Friends later recalled that Paula missed the music, the camaraderie, and the thrill of live television, but she never expressed regret. Walking away was a choice of strength, not surrender. She had already proved what she needed to prove. That spirit and determination could carry her further than fame alone. In leaving, she showed that there was life and dignity beyond the dance floor. The moment marked a turning point. Paula's story shifted from being part of a televised phenomenon to building a life defined by personal triumphs and private joys. She remained a symbol of American Bandstand's magic, but she no longer lived under its daily pressures. That choice, quiet and graceful, became as much a part of her legacy as the dances that once made her famous. What came next would show a different kind of strength, the devotion of a daughter, a mother, and a woman, determined to live fully beyond the lights. When Paula Kopicko stepped away from American Bandstand, she didn't fade into obscurity. She turned her energy toward family and community. Remaining in the Philadelphia area, she carried with her the memories of those dazzling years, but chose instead to focus on building a steady, meaningful life away from cameras and contests. She married and became the proud mother of 2 children, Robert Giampietro and Jennifer Piankowski. For Paula, the love of family became the center of her world. Friends and relatives often remembered how the same spark that made her unforgettable on the dance floor was now devoted to raising her children, guiding them with warmth, and filling the household with joy. Her grandchildren, Ava, Jack, and Christopher, would later become the next recipients of that affection, each carrying a piece of Paula's spirit into the future. Though she no longer danced for a national audience, Paula never stopped being remembered by those who had grown up watching her. Fans preserved photos, scrapbooks, and magazine clippings that captured her at her peak. Her name surfaced often in reunions and nostalgic conversations where Mighty Mouse was spoken with admiration. She remained a reminder of how American Bandstand could transform ordinary teenagers into cherished figures in the cultural memory of a generation. In her later years, Paula faced illness with quiet resilience. She passed away on May 21, 2007, at just 59 years old. While her life was not long, it was full, defined not only by the moments she danced her way into history, but by the decades she spent as a devoted mother, grandmother, sister, and friend. To her family, she was their heart. To viewers, she was forever the petite girl who proved that size could never limit spirit. Paula Mighty Mouse Kopicko will always be remembered as one of American Bandstand's brightest sparks, a girl whose small frame carried a giant spirit. She stood just under 5 feet tall, yet her smile, her rhythm, and her boundless energy made her larger than life. For countless viewers who tuned in after school, Paula represented the thrill of being young in the early 1960s, when music and dance could make the world feel limitless. Her victory with Richie Cartledge in the 1962 mashed potato contest became a defining image of the show's golden era, a moment that fans still recall with warmth. But Paula's greatest legacy wasn't a contest or a nickname. It was the joy she left in the memories of those who watched her and the love she carried into her family life. Were you watching that afternoon when Mighty Mouse lit up the bandstand floor? What memory of Paula still dances in your heart today?